All right, Zay, we're going to move on to topic number two. And we are going to talk about this topic right here because a lot of people have been talking about the changing of the guard. And it prompted me to think about this question. Will LeBron, KD, Steph ever win another championship? And Zay, I would love to do the honors to kick us off here. I'm gonna start off by saying I don't see it with either of these three guys, and I'm just gonna attack this question in a specific way, right? Because I feel like with this question, you can go a lot of different routes to come up with your take and answer, but I'm gonna just do this specifically individually. Let's start off with LeBron James, right? He's obviously 40. 39 is 40, right? And I believe he still got game. We know that. He was averaging 27 points per game, 8 assists per game. And also, I believe he was almost average a triple double, to be honest with you. Right. And I think the main reason why he went to LA back in 2018 was because he knows that LA is a hot spot for free agents. So I think he wanted to go there, lay his base, and kind of like attract, him being at that time, attract guys to play with LeBron. Because at that time, who wouldn't want to play with LeBron, take a pay cut if need be, and participate in constant playoff runs and potentially win an NBA Finals, right? And he chose Anthony Davis for his running mate. That's who he chose, and they got a championship in the bubble a couple years ago. But I've said on the record publicly a lot that I don't think they're going to win another one together in the Anthony Davis and LeBron James era. And I think LeBron James kind of is facing that reality as you look at the Western Conference. And I'm pretty sure we're going to address that as a whole, some part in this take. It's getting better, significantly better. And there's a lot of questions with him and his free agency and what he wants to do, whether he wants to play with his son or not, whether he wants to leave, stay with the Lakers, maybe they make a trade. Whoever knows, I just don't see him winning another championship, point blank, period. You get to KD. We know KD still got game. What is guy like 6'11", can score on all three levels of the floor. Literally could handle like a point guard, like a guard, literally. And he still got game. We know that. But at the end of the day, ever since he left the Warriors, he's been struggling trying to find a super team and build super teams that could win a championship. We all know the Nets experiment that just evaporated. It was a terrible. They couldn't even get on the floor half the time together, and that fell through. And we all know about the shot that he made, but his foot was on the line. That changed everything. The injuries changed everything, and that fell through. He tried to go to the Suns and try to create something there, and that fell through as well. And you gotta think about it. Anthony Edwards. I mean, he was a man amongst boys in that series. He was literally in the fourth quarter, showed no fear. That team, the Timberwolves, we're going to talk about them later. They got a really good team full of depth, defenders, rebounding, everything. And they just happened to go against that team. They got swept. Okay. Then you get back to Curry, and the Warriors have issues. They need a boss to their front court. They perimeter defense, they need to beef that up as well. And Curry, you got the young guys, or the young guys going to take another leap to where the Warriors could feel comfortable running it back with the core that they do have, that they remain loyal to thus far. And I think have reason to believe they will continue to be loyal to. Will he win another championship? But I think when you look at it from a bigger scale and you look at the Western Conference, right? Teams are more dynamic, more younger, and they have depth. And that's what these teams have the advantages over a LeBron James led Lakers team, over a KD led, Suns team, over a Warriors Curry led team. So, Zay, I don't see them winning another championship. I'll leave it for you to take us up from here.
Yeah, I think when you talking about these three superstars here, it's tough. It's difficult to have this discussion on will they win another ring. And I think the only person out of the three that has the highest chances to win a ring is Kevin Durant because his ability to score, his ability just to plug and play anywhere, and then it's just about who's going to be the supporting cast around him. If Kevin Durant goes to like a Charlotte Hornets, of course not. But if Kevin Durant decides to go to a team like Miami, then things open up. Things you start to question how could that fit and how can it work and things of that nature. But right now, as we currently stand, I don't see either of these players winning another ring for the simple fact that they're not who they once were, and teams are paying and trading for a guy who used to be MVP, a guy who was a scoring champion, a guy who was leading 35 points per game in NBA Finals with the Warriors, and I think that's not what they're no longer getting. They're getting a guy who can still score at a high level, but he's less reliable in terms of his ability to get open, his ability to do different things offensively, even defensively. He gets injured a lot more than before, and I think it is because of that Achilles injury that he suffered and the longevity it took to get back from that injury. and then he started getting a hamstring injury that kept him out for long. So it's just everything connects back to that Achilles injury, and this is someone that we don't really recognize who he was from those OKC Golden State Warrior days. For LeBron's sake, I think he's like is done. Like I think a year or two is left in his career. Wherever he's planning to go is going to be tough because it's like they're going to have to carry him to the promised land opposed to him carrying them to the promised land. And then Steph Curry, I think he's going to be a Golden State Warrior forever for life. I don't see him leaving for another ring or try to go out and try to change locations for a chip. So I think like Steph Curry stays in his location, and I don't see the Warriors really contesting with the Western Conference any longer. They're only getting better, and this is a year without John Morant. So when John Morant comes back, I don't expect the Warriors to even try to compete with the Grizzlies. Especially with the way the Rockets are looking, they're up and coming. There's so many teams in the West now that are all young, hungry, and are all planning to thrive over the Lakers, Suns, and Golden State. So I think right now we could just say the golden era is over.
Yeah, I want to respond to my guy Kenny real quickly here because I agree with him 100%. I think Kevin Durant is the only one here that really needs a chip to solidify his legacy here. I think Curry already proved that he didn't need Kevin Durant. He already won a championship before Kevin Durant. He won after Kevin Durant, LeBron James as well. Already solidified himself when he came back to Cleveland and he bought their first, I believe it was their first ever championship to Cleveland. So I think with Kevin Durant, he's still got a, legacy that he's trying to complete here. And so far he hasn't had any success in doing so outside of Steph Curry and playing with him in the Warriors. I think for me, back in 1991, I want to go historical presence here, right? Because it's going to lead to my second lap. MJ dunked over Patrick Ewing, and he went on to win a championship that year. And to me, that was like a signified passing of the guard, passing of the torch. Michael Jordan, you're going to be the next guy. You are that dude. You are the face of the NBA. And I believe in game 4, Anthony Edwards dunked on Kevin Durant, somebody that publicly on the record, that's the guy he looked up to. He dunked on Kevin Durant. And to me, instantly, I was like, yeah, that's the pass the guard moment. Anthony Edwards, he's going to be the face of the NBA right now, full of young stars. This guy's that dude. All he needed to do was win in the playoffs, and so far he's doing so, and he's showing up in these 4 quarters and being that vocal leader on his team. And I think when you talk about the Western Conference and Eastern Conference, there's so much talent. I mean, you're talking about SGA, who is going to be an MVP finalist. They just swept the Pelicans. They're not going nowhere. They're very young. They're the youngest team in the NBA and having so much success right now. They're only going to get higher from here. You got Luka Doncic that led his team out of bondage. Okay, literally, he's an MVP finalist as well. And you got to think he's still got a lot of game left, clearly, and a lot of success left, clearly. You also got even guys that I didn't mention. There's so many guys, even the guys that's not playing like Zion. Who knows about Zion if he could ever get healthy? I may have opened up Pandora's box over there. But look at the Eastern Conference. You still got Boston. You still got Tatum and Brown, right? They still young, believe it or not. It felt like they've been in the NBA forever, but they still young, right? You got Tyrese Halliburton. You got Jalen Brunson. We can't forget about our guy. There's so much talent. A lot of names I even mentioned. There's so much talent in the NBA in both conferences. And when you look at the teams, there's a lot of depth. Like I said, they're more dynamic. And I really think that we are probably never going to see either of these 3 guys win another championship because the guard has shifted and we have to embrace the youth movement and the ending of the super teams. One of these, and this is my last point, I feel like one of these guys, if not 2, is going to try to create another super team. We have to realize a super team is not going to work in today's NBA with the CBA and all the cap restrictions and salary cap and all that, the luxury tax, whatever. It's going to be hard to create a super team. And these guys, like how they did before, is not going to be able to wiggle themselves out of situations and create super teams going forward. The Phoenix Suns are stuck, right? They don't have a lot of money for wiggle room to add depth. They're pretty much stuck unless they trade one of these 3 guys that they got. The Lakers, they kind of stuck. The Warriors are kind of stuck as well. They over the luxury tax line. So I don't know, Zay. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think Kevin, like I said, if you're able to bring in a Kevin Durant on any team, it puts you in a different conversation. Just about what do you have around them. The Suns, unfortunately, try to do so much in one year. of putting around all these different talents together that don't really defend well, or at least their track record says they're not great defenders, and put them on the same team and hoping that they will outscore teams left and right. And it wasn't working. Bradley Beal, he was a guy who in Washington before he got paid was a guy who was a two-way basketball player, a guy who was able to defend well, shoot well, do a lot of different things, and then similar to what happened to Gordon Hayward. He got paid and then he stopped playing defense. He just stopped doing a lot of different things and he thought he could turn it back up for whatever reason in a playoff series or because he's on a playoff team. Yeah, now I'm about to show you my defensive side. No, it's too late. You're playing against us. Are you playing against Anthony Edwards? Like that ain't no regular player. That ain't no regular dude. And he was cooking y'all left and right. No matter what y'all did. Yeah, y'all was getting fried. And if, when Bradley Beal or even Devin Booker is your best defensive player on the team, what are you expecting to do? You need to play defense. You need to be able to stay gritty. That's the playoffs. It's about heart, defense, hustle. Y'all don't have enough of that. And y'all lost. And I think any team that Kevin Durant goes to is going to be looked at as a super team, or they're going to gut their roster to get him. And unfortunately, that's going to be the downfall because no one, you need guys who's going to be able to do all the gritty work. So guys like Kevin Durant, guys like LeBron, guys like Steph Curry, can score the basketball and facilitate an offense and do amazing things offensively, opposed to trying to be amazing on both sides of the floor. That's not how it works any longer. There's not enough two-way guys in the league anymore. You're rather great offensively or great defensively. You're not both. And I think that's something that teams need to understand when it comes to bringing in a Kevin Durant onto your roster.
Isaiah, listen, man. I think this discussion was warranted because a lot of people do think that there is a changing of the guard. But I'll leave this question with you to bring us home. Out of all those guys, I already gave you my guy. I think Anthony Edwards is poised for that face of the league. Obviously, right now, LeBron James, Steph Curry, they on their way out. They the face of the league. But if when they done, who do you think out of these young guys, Western Conference, Eastern Conference, could take that lead and baton of being the face of the league, and why?
Well, right now you're gonna have to give it to Anthony Edwards as the next face of the league. A couple friends told me before. I was always like, nah, you can't call him face of the league. He hasn't proved nothing yet, yada yada. But he's the next guy. He's the guy who's been playing defense. He's taken first of all, a franchise that has been irrelevant for 2 decades into conversations of going to a possible NBA Finals. A guy who could score 30 to 40, a guy who's playing defense, a guy who's getting chased down blocks, poster dunks, media friendly. Like he's easily marketable. He's relatable. And you can't say that about a lot of guys in this league. You could probably say it about Tyrese Maxey. You could probably say it about a handful of other guys, but it's not that many people in the league that you could sit there and say, yeah, he's the next face of the league. And mean it with your chest or like feel comfortable cheering for him. Because a lot of guys are so like out of touch with the crowd base, with the fan base and everything that you don't really see it. So I think like you could look at Anthony Edwards, you could look at a guy like Tyrese Maxey. Those are two guys that come to mind that could be like the next faces of the league, faces of the league in terms of how to interact with media and stuff like that. Because it's beyond just on the court, it's off the court stuff. And I think both of those guys really inhabit what it means to be not only a superstar, but relate to the fan base and kind of show that love and gratitude that we as fans show them.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the talent as well, we all know Anthony Edwards has that bravado. And I think one of the things I like about Anthony Edwards and why, like, when people was comparing him to MJ, I was like, nah, I don't see it. But now I see it, is not only what he's done in the fourth quarter of these playoffs thus far, but even that presser after the game when him and Carl Anthony Towns were sitting and together and being interviewed, and he was like, listen, stop fouling, stop effing fouling. Putting your guys in check, holding them accountable and, keeping it a beam with them to get the best out of them. Yep. And I think that's what MJ did so well, was that although he had crashes with his teammates, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. Yep. He always made sure he held his guys in check. And you don't want to make a mistake when you're playing with a elite guy like that who's holding you accountable, who wants to win. You got to step your game up. Yep. And I think he's allowed those guys on the Timberwolves to step their games up, and that's what they've been doing, and that's why they're moving on, and that's why he's moving on to be the face of the league. And that's why we moving on to halftime here, and when we come back, we're gonna briefly stop in the NFL, and we got more topics, so make sure you keep it locked. This is 99 Pod on God.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.